Hey everyone, it's been a while since we did some Path of Exile stuff in the channel. With all honesty, I've been busy in real life lately, but at the same time I wasn't so sure as to what build I wanted to start Ultimatum with. Eventually I settled with tonight's character. This is an Exsanguinate Hierophant, and I know, everybody and their mothers are playing Exsanguinate, but what can I say, in a world where fun is not allowed, this new spell feels pretty nice and it's not that difficult to build. Gearing is another story, especially as a starter and even more so with the rather wacky stuff I'm doing, but we'll get there in a bit. Having said that, I am not done with this character. I am currently stuck at tier 13, because either RNG is too mean to me this league or I screwed up somewhere in the Watchstone department. So this video is more of a build showcase, though we'll be going over the important details about the character. Anyways, Exsanguinate is a welcome addition to the roster of damage over time skills, and I gotta admit, it quickly became a favorite of mine. It goes through proximity shields, you can support it with chain, not lose any dot DPS and gain a crap ton of clear potential, alongside being available for the Templar early on at level 12. As for the build itself, I'm pretty sure that Exsanguinate can be built with a rather diverse roster of characters and 3 choices, but I chose the Templar and by proxy the Hierophant because this class starts relatively close to the new physical damage over time nodes, alongside all the spell and life goodies that we require. Now, I am aware that the Hierophant's main deal is normally mana stacking to indulge in Arcane Cloak, Mind over Matter and other mana defensive layer shenanigans. However, this character is not doing any of that. I chose the Hierophant for the free minimum power and endurance charges, and most importantly the Arcane Surge stuff, as in free Arcane Surge on a spell hit, Life Leech and Elemental Ailment immunity while the buff is up. Mechanics that are gonna come in handy, especially when dealing with these gangbangs disguised as the league's gimmick. But before spoiling any more of the character's fun stuff, hey, if you enjoyed tonight's content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Yes, it took me a while to upload Path of Exile stuff, but I assure you that we are back on the grind. So to prove it, let's build ourselves a boomer that quite literally squirts blood at hostiles in order to achieve max DPS. That sounds so wrong, but hey, that's Path of Exile in 2021 for you. Alright, so for the gear, since this is not really a build guide, I'm just gonna point out the special stuff, as in the main things to keep an eye out for if you want to build something similar. Granted, I expect a lot of the gear to become cheaper the longer the league runs, but right now some of these items are a bit pricey. First thing is a body armor that is giving you additional levels to strength gems. This means crafting the chest with faceted fossils. Since we are socketing Exsanguinate, which is a strength gem, and supporting it with Empower, we get a crap ton of damage by doing this little setup, as we gain a lot of extra levels. Optimally speaking, the play is either a Warlord or a Shaper body armor with the strength gem level and the influence mod plus 1 level to socket active skill gems. The second thing to acquire is directly proportional to this body armor, and it's a cold iron point with spell damage or damage over time as the corrupted implicit. These guys are expensive, again because a lot of people are playing with this skill or other physical damage over time skills. And until you can acquire one, a regular one-handed caster weapon with an additional spell skill gem level, spell damage, damage over time multi and fist multi is a good alternative. Granted, a perfectly rolled one-handed will beat the cold iron point, but the more realistic option is this dagger with the corruption. The third thing to look out for is an energy shield based shield, because we want an additional level to all physical spell skill gems. But we also want minimum frenzy charges. Why? For more damage and cast speed. You can also go with a shield with spell damage instead of the gem level, but the better play is getting that additional level on the shield, because it is going to apply to a lot of things in this build which are gonna help us more in the long run. The fourth thing to consider is an amulet that is giving you even more gem levels, either strength, intelligence or physical gem levels. Optimally, it also has a spell damage or fist damage over time multi, but the gem level is practically mandatory. We also want a curse on hit ring because laziness and free damage, am I right? Finally, I advise using a Darkness Enthroned. This little belt is one hell of a budget option for damage over time builds. Especially now since the prefix on Abyss Jewels that gives you damage over time has an additional tier with even more damage. Alongside the life and resistances, you'll have a hard time finding a replacement to this setup. Before we move on to the tree, remember that the PoE is in the description, so feel free to check the rest of the gear through it. And yes, I know some of the gear is a bit spicy for a starter, which is another reason as to why it took me so long to come up with a league starter video. I wanted to try out this skill in practice and I've been building along the way. Some of the gear choices that I've made so far have not kept budget in mind. Any currency that I get is instantly burned in the name of progressing, and so far the strategy has worked. So yeah, let us talk about the skill tree. Alright, so this skill tree is a bit of a trip. This character is a level 92 Hierophant. No bandits were befriended, and either Solaris or Lunaris as the major gods and Shakari as the lesser one. On the tree itself, we are gonna mainly focus on grabbing damage over time stuff. The new nodes in the Templar area, the other stuff in between Templar and Scion, some damage for health sapping skills in the Marauder area, some spell damage stuff in the Witch area, and damage over time stuff in the Shadow area, grabbing as much life on the way to all of these nodes. However, we're gonna do another spicy thing in here. Since we've got 4 minimum power charges at all times, and we've got a power charge and spell damage per power charge on the way, we anoint Disciple of the Forbidden to force a 5th minimum power charge. This is important because we are gonna socket a Militant Faith with conversions under High Templar Dominus. This turns any keystone in range into Inner Conviction, for 3% more spell damage per power charge. Exsanguinate's damage over time gets beefed up by any spell damage modifiers, and these power charges are gonna give us a hefty chunk of damage that is hard to ignore. Again, it is a bit of an expensive play, but it pays out in the long run. As for the Ascendancy, Conviction of Power for those minimum charges, Arcane Blessing to get free Arcane Surge on a spell hit, Illuminated Devotion for Life Leech and Elemental Element Immunity while Arcane Surge is up, and finally Divine Guidance for some damage, but you can get Pursuit of Fate instead of Divine Guidance to cast your decoy totems faster, up to you though. But yeah, in general that is it for the skill tree. Again, you can check the path of building for the jewels and to make any changes that you deem necessary. So now let us wrap up this with some gem setups. In the body armor, Exsanguinate, Control Destruction, Empower, Swift Affliction, Brutality and Efficacy. You swap Swift Affliction for Chain during clear and swap back for single target. Though unless you are fighting a big mini boss, Chain can remain here almost always. Try to get both Exsanguinate and Empower corrupted with an extra level for even more damage, especially since we are scaling the DPS through gem levels in different items. In the boots, Pride, War Banner and Herald of Purity. Again, if possible, try to get this corrupted with an extra level, for even more damage. Somewhere else in the tree, Decoy Totem and Flame Dash link to Life Tap and Second Wind, though the Second Wind only affects Flame Dash. Anywhere else, a Vaal Righteous Fire, and if you want it, a Portal Gem. But yeah, that is it so far for this little character. The build is performing quite nicely in both mapping and the leg mechanic. I am currently chasing a Crown of the Inward Eye with an Exsanguinate damage enchantment and an Empower level 4. I don't know if I'll even try to get Awakened Gems, but for now those two are my priorities. I am thinking that this build is probably going to cap at the first Sirius and a couple of other lesser bosses, unless I invest more currency into the character, but I have other build ideas that I wanna play with, so I am still undecided as to how hard I want to push this guy. So before we go, how about some initial thoughts on Gangbang League? I mean Ritual 2.0. Okay, in all seriousness, I like the smug attitude of the Trial Master. The activity itself has too much risk, which has me sweating bullets rather often. But I am gonna go ahead and claim that I do not feel rewarded in proportion to the risk present in the ultimatums. While yes, I have gotten at least 100 chaos so far and a single exalt, alongside some nice gear which has funded some of the spicy stuff on the character so far. From Ultimatum itself, I find that these ones are spaced out rather far, while the risk itself just escalates often and it's kinda not feeling too worthy right now. I also feel like the novelty ran out relatively fast. Granted, I think that I'll have more fun once I play with a build that detonates enemies on death, but so far it is getting a bit stale, especially with the similarities to Ritual. You know, the arena and monster spam. Fun but a bit too repetitive. So yeah, those are my 2 cents so far about this new league. There is more to talk about, but I wanna get a good feeling of the patch itself before I start judging the stampede of changes that came with 3.14. Anyways, that is gonna be it for me today. I wanna read your thoughts so far on Ultimatum on the comments below. So don't forget to do that and also leave a rating, and if you are new around here, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching the video, have a nice weekend, take care, and I'll catch you again soon with more boomer self-inflicted pain DPS stuff. Peace out.